Right, so for crow pose or bakasana, start in a yogi squat or malasana. So you can bring your feet about as wide as your mat, and it's okay if the heels are lifted. Maybe the heels can go down, but don't stress about it. Either way, what we're doing is working on opening up the inner thighs and the hips a little bit. So what you can start to do is push the knees away and bring your hands into prayer, lengthening the spine. Hold here and breathe. As you hold and breathe, you might be able to go a little bit further into the pose. Again, don't stress about it. You don't want to go anywhere where you're feeling pain. Just go to where you feel sensation. All right, so that's malasana. That's a really good prep pose for crow. Now, another one is cat pose. So what I want you to focus on is what's happening in your abdominals. So as you round the back, I want you to pretend that there is a string attached from the belly button all the way up towards the ceiling. Okay, so you can inhale from the hands and knees, and then exhale, round, chin towards the chest, navel towards the spine, draw the string all the way up towards the ceiling. Okay, inhale, come back to neutral. Exhale, round, tuck the tailbone, navel to spine. Draw it up, up, up. Inhale, neutral. Exhale, round, navel to spine. Inhale, neutral. So also focus on rounding the space in between the shoulder blades. On your next exhale, round. Push the ground away from you. Inhale, neutral. One more. And inhale to neutral. All right, good job. Now let's do a wrist stretch. This is good to do before crow pose and after crow pose to stretch out your wrists. Okay, so bring the backs of the hands together. And then let the elbows come down towards the ground. And breathe here. And some wrist stretches, or some circles here. So another good way to strengthen the wrists is in poses like downward facing dog. So again, coming from the hands and knees, walk your knees back a couple inches, curl the toes under, and lift the hips up and back. So really pushing into the knuckles, keeping the weight out of the wrists. So by keeping the weight from dumping into the wrists, you're helping so that you're not kind of smashing your carpal tunnel. And it strengthens the wrist gently at the same time when you're not dumping. Okay, and come back down. Okay, so now we'll do a little exercise going from plank into a rounded, or from down dog into a rounded back plank. So come up to your downward facing dog, full stretch here, inhale. Exhale, come into plank, rounding the back, tuck the tailbone, round the shoulders, inhale up and back. Exhale, round as you come forward, navel to spine like we did in cat. Inhale, back. Exhale, round. Inhale, back. Exhale, round. Inhale, back. Exhale, hands and knees, and sit back and rest. Okay, so another pose that really strengthens for crow pose is a crowd favorite, chaturanga. All right, so this is actually a really challenging pose, but it's a great pose to strengthen for so many other poses to follow, such as crow pose. So I like to do this one from plank. Okay, so in plank, push forward so your shoulders are past the wrist, then bring the knees down. Now from here, you want to make sure you're not letting your belly drop down. So navel to spine. So you're in a straight line from the knees all the way up to the crown of the head. So this is a modified chaturanga. Okay, so slowly lower down and keep the elbows in. All right, squeeze the shoulders back. So plugging them in, coming to 90 degrees. Then you can push back up. Okay, so I know that that's really, really hard. If you can't go to 90 degrees, that's okay. So inhale, and then exhale, just go a couple inches. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. So this will really strengthen the arms and the shoulders as well as the wrists. Next, we'll get into opening the hips a little bit more in lizard pose. So you can bring your right leg in front, have your right knee directly on top of the ankle, and walk the right foot over to the right a couple inches. Turn the toes out slightly so that the knee is pointing in the same direction as the toes. Now you can do a modified lizard with the back knee down, or you can bring the back knee up. So come down onto the forearms, Forearms can be either on blocks or on the ground. Try not to let the hips fall out to the side. Keep the hips square. So if you feel comfortable here, then you could lift the back knee. Try to push the back heel back and the front knee forward, keeping the hips square. Breathe, relax your face. If you can't smile a little bit or breathe, you've probably gone too far. All right, and then switch it out. So feel free to pause this video and hold these poses a little bit longer. Breathe, relax the face. All right, and release. And one more pose to open up the inner thighs and the hips. So bring the soles of the feet together and start to let the knees go down towards the ground. Hold on to the ankles. As you inhale, lengthen the spine, and as you exhale, tilt the pelvis forward. Try to keep a long spine here. You could push the knees down gently with the elbows if your elbows touch. And breathe. Draw the chest forward as you tip the pelvis forward, almost like you're trying to stick the booty out. And rise up. All right, good job. So now let's get into crow pose. If you have a block handy, go ahead and grab that, and we'll use that in just a moment. For now, start in your malasana, your yogi squat. Have your heels in and your toes and knees turned out. So your feet will be about a foot apart from each other. Okay, so now bring your hands inside of the knees. Start to lift your hips up. Now from here, walk the feet in a little bit closer. You still want the knees turning out. Hands and arms your hands are like in down dog hands. So you don't have them close, you don't have them far out. Your hands aren't turned out, they're not turned in. Your pointer fingers are pointing straight forward. Okay, lengthen the spine. Start to bend the elbows. They'll go out to the sides a little bit. Now, instead of thinking about bringing your knees onto the backs of your arms, and you can just watch me for this first one. Instead of bringing your knees to the arms, which is more of a crane pose, think about bringing your shins to the backs of the arms. So your knees will actually be off of your arms. So I'll come down really low, hook my arms. Now see how my knee is kind of past my arm. So my knee's not on my arm, it's past. Look forward a little bit, lean forward. Now you don't jump into the pose. Eventually you could start to lift one foot and then the other foot. Squeeze the knees in. Okay, so what we don't want to do again is place the knees onto the backs of the arms. You can do that eventually, but it's surely not going to make it easier. Okay, the other thing we don't want to do that I see happen a lot is people are here and then they're just kind of holding on to the outside of the elbows, okay? So that takes a lot more strength and you're not really getting all the way up into the full pose. Okay, so this time I'll show you sideways. You need to bring your booty up. You don't want to come into it low like this. You won't get high enough. Booty up, heels in, toes out. Place the shins onto the triceps. Squeeze the elbows in. Squeeze the knees in. Lift one foot and then the other foot, if possible, looking forward slightly. And then you can bring your big toes together to touch. All right, so something that some people like to use is a block and bring your feet up onto the block. This just starts to get your hips up a little bit higher. All right, so you can lift, again, shins onto the backs of the arms. One foot, other foot. All right, so I hope that those tips for crow help. Please feel free to put in the comments anything that you're still not quite getting, or if this worked for you. I would love, love, love to hear. All right, so some of the benefits of this pose is that it strengthens your wrists, your upper arms, your shoulders, as well as your abdominals. And it really stretches your back body as well as the groin. It improves focus, balance, and coordination. It also strengthens the sacral or the second chakra. You do not want to do this pose if you are pregnant, if you have carpal tunnel syndrome or other wrist issues, if you have shoulder injuries, or if you have hip injuries. And again, the prep poses for this pose to help you get there a little bit more quickly would be cat pose, chaturanga, bound angle pose, lizard pose, and also the downward facing dog, going from plank into a rounded back, plank into a rounded back, as well as just down dog in general. I hope you loved learning about crow pose as much as I love teaching about it. If you're ready to commit to a more regular yoga practice, I highly recommend the 30-day yoga challenge that will be right here on YouTube. So make sure that you check out the link in the description of this video so that you can get daily reminders to help you commit to your practice. Have a great day. Namaste.